Right now, let me ask you a question. Should council meetings be recorded and filmed? Well, the local government secretary, Eric Pickles, thinks so, and he told people recently. But when a Cambridgeshire man tried to follow his guidance and film in a meeting at Huntingdon District Council, he was threatened with arrest. 33-year-old journalist and campaigner Richard Taylor, who is from Cambridge, joins me in the studio now. Richard, hello.
Good afternoon, Chris.
So Eric Pickles told you personally?
He did. He tweeted in response to me. I asked if Huntingdonshire District Council's rules were Pickles compliant, is how I put it, and he responded to me to say, yeah, I could just go ahead, that the rules were not, but his new guidance overrides those, and I could just turn up at the meeting and film it.
Why would you want to do that?
Well, I think it enables me to take action on what's said. So I went across to listen to our Police and Crime Commissioner, Graham Bright, who was speaking to councillors there. And I do lots of campaigning on policing matters, so I find it useful to have footage of what the Police and Crime Commissioner has said, so I can then take it to people like my local councillors, to my MP, and even put it back to the Commissioner and question him further on what he's been saying.
OK, and here's a bit of what happened when you tried to film.
No, but I'm telling you, that's the decision, my decision. You're not going to be allowed to film and you're not going to be allowed to speak.
Because you haven't gone through the proper process under our constitution.
OK, council officials can be heard there telling you you're not going to film, you're not going to be able to ask questions or speak because you hadn't gone through the proper procedures.
Yeah, well, I'd never asked to speak. The council chair just invented that bit. But so the chair of the council, Councillor Mrs. Barbara Elizabeth Boddington, she's called, she came up to me in her chain of office and she repeatedly told me that she wouldn't allow me to film the meeting. The council's head of legal also came to me, and other council officers and other councillors. So there was a very hostile reception to my attempt to film the meeting. But what I did is I insisted that I wanted to hear a ruling from the chair. As I understand it, the chair of council meetings can only throw out members of the public if they're being disruptive, and I said to the chairwoman that if she wanted to, then she could, from the chair of the meeting, once she's opened the meeting, tell me that I was being disruptive and throw me out. But she decided not to do that, and when it actually got to the start of the meeting, she decided to give me permission to film. But that was only after about half an hour of quite a hostile response, being told that I wouldn't be allowed to film.
And they threatened to call the police on you?
They did. They told me that the police were going to be called, and then, in fact, I was given the impression that potentially the police were called.
OK. Huntingdonshire District Council have issued a statement. It's entitled Filming at Council Meetings, and they say that government guidance was published in June, and that recordings of meetings open to the public is only permitted with the consent of the chairman, and provided that at least 3 working days' notice has been given prior to the meeting. Did you do either of those things? I
didn't, no, and the reason I didn't was because of what Eric Pickles has been saying. I wanted to test what Eric Pickles has been saying and the guidance that he's issued, which says that the public have a right to record council meetings.
OK. They go on saying, following publication of the guidance, the council will review this section of the constitution. In order to do this, we have a process that must be followed. They say the chairman did allow the meeting to be filmed in anticipation the council will amend its constitution. Is that correct?
Well, that's their statement, so presumably things are now going to change. Okay. But this kind of problem is being faced all over the country.
They say on Wednesday evening the council was unprepared, and like most people, they felt uncomfortable being filmed without prior warning.
Well, I don't think councillors should be feeling uncomfortable to be filmed at all. That they are elected representatives. We need to know what they're doing. Democracy doesn't function if we can't find out about what our councillors are doing.
They say what they're concerned about was you filming the public, whether they wanted to be identified.
And that is one of the problems with filming council meetings. I completely agree. But a lot of members of the public who are at council meetings are people like parish councillors. They're representatives of campaign groups. They actually want to be filmed. I had a member of the public recently in Cambridge actually moved in front of my camera because he wanted his representation to the council to be put on YouTube, to be put on my website. So the vast majority of people want that. But I completely understand that there probably needs to be a protocol for if somebody doesn't want to be filmed, that they can opt out.
You've made your point now. Will you be back to film again?
Oh, certainly. I'll keep trying to film. There's an awful lot of videos from the county council, from the city council, from the police and crime panel on my website already. I'll keep doing what I'm doing. I won't be put off by these officers threatening to call the police.
But it does appear that they have listened to your complaint and they have taken action. They've considered what you've said. Would you agree with that or not?
Well, I don't know. They haven't yet had their meeting. I presume they're going to meet in July to consider if they're going to change their rules. But they shouldn't be so hostile. It just shouldn't be so difficult. Very few people would do what I did and ignore repeated calls from councillors, repeated calls from council officers, and repeated threats to call the police.
Do you think they try to hide something? Or are they afraid of you in some way?
Well, I think they're hostile to people like me. I felt that there was a very hostile response there, and I'm just a member of the public trying to find out what's going on.
Obviously, there are important things discussed at council meetings, but some people would be surprised that you'd want to film because there's an awful lot of boring things going on at council meetings too, for hours.
Well, there were two interesting things on the agenda at the meeting I went to. The Police and Crime Commissioner, there's a very interesting situation in Huntingdonshire at the moment. There is no local police priority setting, and local councils don't set the police priorities and hold the police to account as they do elsewhere in the county. So that was discussed. The whole question of whether we should have PCSOs or PCs, given that they cost about the same, and PCSOs don't have as many powers as PCs.
Your inspiration was Eric Pickles. Have you got back to him on this?
Well, I've certainly tweeted. I've cited him in the tweets, and he's commented, and one of his ministers has commented.
OK, Richard Taylor, thank you for joining us. Appreciate that.